Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi guys, I'm Nadya Shafira Putri Supriadi from class 2C. Here I will deliver the exam answer from the literary work appreciation courses. Question number 1. Poem is made of word. It means the point about poetry and other forms of literature is that the choice of words and their arrangement is made so as to draw the listener or reader's attention to those features of language which in everyday speech are usually ignored: rhythms, rhymes, non-standard words order, and so on. Poetry does this in order to stimulate pleasure in these features and to enlarge or augment the meaning and impact of the poem. Question number 2. What is poetry is about is mean to think about the word of poems is to think about their meaning. That's an obvious statement, but saying it's useful because it addresses some readers' anxiety about poetry. Do I understand what this poem is all about? The first thing you can do is be realistic. Some poems are so rich in meaning that it takes a lifetime to appreciate them. Before you start thinking about poetry in detail, it is helpful to have an overview of the poem. For example, if a narrative poem such as a domestic help quote above, you need to make sure that you can follow the main event of the story. On the other hand, if the poem presents an argument, you need to make sure that you can follow it at least in outline. Question number 3. How the poet uses the word it means. You may find the advice to look for a striking word too general. If so, what other specific advice could be given? Look for a change in pitch. Sometimes this can show that a word is worth thinking about. Pay attention to repetitive words. When a poet uses a word more than once, it is often because the word is so important in contrasting of the meaning of the poem. Pay attention to the contrast. This is another quite to essential words. And then speech figure. When you write about words that make you feel catchy or make you happy, you need to master technical lingo. Of course, one way to show how an allusion contributes to poetry is to write about how it applies its meaning. Question number 4. A metaphor makes a comparison by stating that one thing is something else, but a simile states that one thing is like something else. If you are trying to tell the difference between metaphors and simile, the most obvious comparison in similes makes them easier to identify as figures of speech. Question number 5. Caesura is pause in a line of poetry that is formed by the rhythms of natural speech. Rather than by metrics, a caesura will usually occur near the middle of a poetic line, but can also occur at the beginning of the end of the line. In poetry, there are two types of caesural breaks, yaitu the feminine and masculine. Question number 6. Rhyme along with meter helps make a poem musical. In traditional poetry, a regular rhyme aids the memory for recitation and gives predictable pleasure. A pattern of rhyme called a scheme also helps establish the form in the pattern. The line with the same letter rhyme with each other. 7. Poems tell story are called narrative poems is a longer form of poetry that tells an entire story with a beginning, middle, and narrative poems contain all of the elements of a fully developed story, including character, plot, conflict, and resolution. These poems are typically told by just one narrator or speaker. Question number 8. Repetition is a literary device that involves intentionality, using a word of the first for event two or more times in a speech or written work. Repeating the same words are parsed in a literary work of poetry or prose and bring clarity to an idea and or make it memorable for the reader. 9. Tell me about novels, especially made it into a world in words. Novels are specially made from the word in words. One of the problems faced by many people in trying to understand literature is that when we watch television, we are faced with art as if it were a clear window to the world. But there is no art like this. Whatever it is, television and film and opera and ballet, art is something that has been specially made. Even art that tries to imitate as closely as possible some of the characteristics of everyday life. Soap operas, for example, is a work that has been designed, selected, edited, trimmed, and packaged. All works of art are made hence, and any novel can be described as a world specially made in the words of a writer. Any novel exists the way because a writer has chosen to put it together in some way. And then question answer number 10. Describe the problem in the narratives. Since narrative is the foundation of the novel and other forms of literary art, it is not surprising that there are many aspects to it. This section discusses some of them. We will start with issues related to what has been said about narrative art. Retrospect, most of the first-person narrative are presented as description of what happened. This is usually called retrospective narrative. Knowledge. What a retrospective narrative consideration demonstrates is that narrative deals with knowledge. First, knowledge in first-person narrative. Knowledge in third-person narrative. Reliability. The most difficult areas of knowledge are when there is a narrator that the reader cannot completely trust. Such a narrator, usually the first person, is said to be unreliable. Perspective problems of retro speaks knowledge and reliability all joined to perspective. It is a word that comes from painting. It means what something looks like from a certain point of view. Thank you for watching, and sorry if there is a mistake, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.